Tachi Palace Casino Resort here in Central California, Lemoore, California, just about an hour south of Fresno. And hey, it may be over 100 degrees, but these fans have come out to have a great night, and they should be in store for one. Our opening bout, an 8-rounder at 122 pounds. The next step in the development of Rico Ramos, tries to stay perfect as he faces Cuauhtemoc Vargas.
Our timekeeper tonight, Karina Ayanayan, position.
And there is Vargas, only 25. He's already on the downside of a 9-year career. He was out of action for 2.5 years before coming back this past May. Lost a 12-rounder to a 21-win prospect, Jesus Rios.
21.5 pounds with a record of 15 wins.
Rico Ramos from Los Angeles, 23 years old, 16-0, 9 knockouts. Fast boxer, keeps it simple. He's a hit and don't get hit kind of guy. Had a strong amateur background, and he made his Friday night fight debut this past March, and he scored a good-looking win March 5th against Cecilio Santos. Watch the left hook to the body. You get the delayed reaction. It would go in the books as a 4th-round knockout for Ramos. Now it's time to see how the fighters will keep their edge. Brought to you by Just for Men Mustache and Beard. Keep your edge.
Let's start with Ramos. Your punch is your best punch is your left hook to the body. So nothing real complicated here. Go land it. And for Vargas, well, move to your left. That would be away from that punch, his left hook.
Scheduled for 8. Marcos Rosales is the referee.
Touch him up. Let's go.
Sit back.
So Rico Ramos had a good amateur career, won numerous national tournaments, including a national PAL championship. Won the JOs in 2002.
Rico,
naturally left-handed, but you'll see him fight righty. Try to place that left hook as he did last time he was on Friday Night Fights.
Vargas has lost 3 of his last 4, 2 by knockout. His father was an amateur boxer. A lot of inactivity for Vargas. If you go back before his last fight, he was off almost 3.5 years. And also doing a little scouting report before your little friendly wages at home. Well, Vargas fought a draw with a fighter with a record of 9, 10, and 3, for whatever that's worth. And as you said, Joe, Ramos naturally lefty, so you would expect the dominant hand to be that lead hand, the left hand, and therefore that's why the best punch he has is his left hook to the body.
There he's utilizing it with the jab, comes forward with a short right hand.
You would think Ramos would want to be looking to come forward and be the boss a little bit at some point. He's the bigger man. He's never been below 120, while Vargas has been as low as 112 pounds.
Vargas trying to put that left hand to the body.
Talking about body punching, Ramos loves to go to the body. Vargas has been knocked out with a left hook to the body, so even more the reason for Ramos, if he's done his scouting, to want to go down to the basement of Vargas.
Break clean. Back up. Back up. Hands are up.
Ramos from South Central LA, comes from a family of 8 there.
Ramos thinks of himself as an intelligent fighter, a guy who's thoughtful, a guy who's thinking defense, always setting things up. Translation, a careful fighter.
Complete opposite of what you will see from the world titleist, who will be trying to defend his belt in our main event, Beibut Shumenov, who will be facing Vyacheslav Uzulkov later tonight.
You can see Ramos is just sort of plotting as a measuring stick with that left hand. Every once in a while he'll snap it out, then he'll just push it out, get a little distance, looking to counter on the outside, looking to grab on the inside. What he'll do is he'll grab, then he'll let go, and then he'll punch. Ramos loves to pick spots.
There's that left hook to the body. Try to catch him with a right hand as Vargas came forward after that.
Part of the positive about being careful and of being intelligent for Ramos is that he's being selective with his punches. He doesn't waste much. He's trying to make everything count. If he steps back, That time he stepped back at the wrong distance and got tagged a little bit with a little right hand from Vargas, but his step back, he looked to set traps, looked to counter, looked to make everything make sense.
Coming to the end of our opening round, a look at the 16-0 Rico Ramos. Friday Night Fights presented by Cerveza Tecate here in Lemoore, California. Joe Tessitore, Teddy Atlas with you ringside. Round 2 between Vargas and Ramos. Let's look at the CompuBox statistics and the punches in round number 1, where the unbeaten Ramos threw 66, landing 14.
Maybe the most important number, not the CompuBox number, it's this number I'm about to say, the number of amateur fights. You know, Ramos 130 amateur bouts, as you said, 3-time national amateur champion, and for Vargas, 25 amateur fights. That disparity speaks very loudly in a squared circle. That is where the edge lies for Ramos.
I also like what he's done, Teddy, early on in his career with the way he's been managed, because he turned pro in March of 2008 and had 8 fights in 2008 and put together a good string of work in 2009, and now his 3rd fight of 2010. So he's staying active and he's honing his skills and putting forth his craft.
If you were becoming a lawyer, you'd want to get in the courtroom as often as possible so you get used to the surroundings, you get calmer, you get more confident. No different for a fighter. The more often you're in the ring, the more comfortable you get in there, in a very uncomfortable place. The calmer you get, the better your timing comes, and the easier things come to you.
Tonight, that uncomfortable place is even more uncomfortable thanks to temperatures over 100 degrees and surface temperatures here ringside that exceed 110 degrees. And you start to see now the shadows as the sun lowers to the west, starts to set. We'll see what the conditions are like about an hour from now when we get set for our WBA light heavyweight title fight.
See the guy who wants to engage so far, the man in the yellow trunks with the green stripe, Vargas. He wants to engage, and Ramos, for the most part, wants to pick spots, counter punch a little as he does there with the right hand, and tie up a little bit on the inside.
Vargas got confident going to the body, then tripled up that jab, and a right hand came right back at him from Ramos.
Ramos looking to use Vargas' aggression. He hopes it's reckless aggression. He hopes it's aggression with no jab in his face, because Ramos wants to use that aggression of Vargas against him. Let him come in and do that. Pick spots, pot shot a little bit, and then move off to the side a bit. Vargas would like a smaller ring. This is a large ring. Ramos is very happy with the size of the ring. He uses those wheels a little bit.
Stop on the bell.
End of 2 here.
Box.
Young unbeaten prospect at 122 pounds, Rico Ramos, had a good amateur career, had a very strong debut, an ESPN debut, Friday Night Fights back on March 5th when he scored a 4th round, one-punch knockout, a body shot that ended Cecilio Santos' night. Now round number 3 for him here against Cuauhtemoc Vargas.
Both fighters are still young. Ramos only 23 years of age. Turned pro when he was 20. Vargas, 25 years of age. He's already been a pro 9 years and 2 months. That's because he turned pro in Mexico at 16 years of age.
Turned pro in 2001, Teddy. Didn't fight in 08 or 09, and then made his comeback after a 2.5-year absence this past May, going 12 rounds, losing a decision. So a longer career, earlier start.
Watch those hands going in.
Again, you see the guy coming forward, the man in the yellow trunks, Vargas. But Ramos looking to pick him up as he comes forward. And then if he does get in close, Vargas, Ramos not shy about grabbing. He figures that's not his place on the inside. That's not where he shines. He wants to shine on the outside.
Three lefts in a row there. Hook to the body, and then you saw the uppercut finish things off.
You're going to be aggressive as Vargas is being. You give him credit for that, but not on the judges' cards you won't give him credit because he's not being effective, not pressing behind that jab enough. And when you don't press behind the jab, you put nothing in the eyes of your opponent. And in this case, the opponent being Ramos is able to just get his hands off, pick his spots, navigate his way on the outside, maneuver a little bit. And that's what Ramos is looking to do. Picking spots, hooking off the jab.
Doubled up that jab, went upstairs, then downstairs, scoring well with that left hand. Remember, a natural lefty who fights in the orthodox stance.
Those are the spots where Vargas has to be prepared. Ramos jumped in a moment ago, left a little opening. Those are opportunities for Vargas, even though he's slower than Ramos, to time him as he comes in. Timing can beat speed.
Stop on the bell. Stop on the bell. Time!
See.
Box.
Joe and Teddy with you ringside here in Lemoore, California, at the Tachi Palace Hotel and Casino. Round 4 between Cuauhtemoc Vargas and Rico Ramos, an unbeaten from Los Angeles at 16-0. Our main event is going to be a good one tonight, folks. It is the WBA light heavyweight title. Two styles that we think should deliver an exciting matchup. Bebot Shumenov is the unlikely champion at 9-1, going up against the unbeaten contender Vyacheslav Uzulkov, 22-0. That's still to come your way. Vargas being invited in by Ramos.
Ramos looking to do a little bit of Wilfred Benitez on him. Wilfred Benitez, when he won the title years ago, the welterweight title against Carlos Palomino outdoors in Puerto Rico. That's how Benitez won it. He laid against the ropes, let Palomino come in, and he moved his head, and he counterpunched to a title all night long.
Vargas with a left hand to the body. Ramos tries to fight out of that position, does so. 1-2 from Rico.
Somebody should tell these fighters, you make it so much easier for your opponent when you're the one pressing and you press without a jab. You just allow your opponent to have a clear vision to pick you up as you come in. Talking about the heat, talking about outdoor fights, talking about being smart a moment ago. The old-time fighters, they used to always fight outdoors. There were so many more outdoor venues back in the heyday, the golden years of boxing back in the 20s, the 30s, the 40s. And they were so experienced. You know, we were talking before, Joe, about Ramos staying busy. When you stay busy, you get calmer, you get more relaxed, you get more comfortable in your environment. The old-time fighters, they were so calm that they could maneuver their opponent outdoors to a position where their eyes would be in the sun.
Oh, I mean, that's just genius ring generalship.
That's just being so calm in your environment, so relaxed, so confident that you're making sure that your back is facing the sun and you're making sure that your opponent's eyes are in the sun.
That position
tonight could do that.
That position tonight, and we have the sun now coming at an angle where it would be in the fighter's eyes, would be as they face us in the direction where we're broadcasting this fight from. That's the direction right there. So as they're facing the camera you see right now, they would be looking directly into the sunlight. We'll look for that as the night continues. End of 4 here, halfway through this fight.
Box.
There's the sun, just up right on the horizon to the west here in Central California, where the temperatures have been well over 100 degrees all day long. Teddy, you just said in the final minute of the 4th round, hey, the old-timers, they were so crafty, they would position their opponent so that when you're throwing a punch, he's looking directly into the sunlight as if to blind him, so it would be tough to see the punch. We listened into the blue corner of Rico Ramos after that round, and Darnell Walker gave that advice.
Yeah, it was really extraordinary to hear him, and I give him credit for saying that. He said exactly that. Maneuver him to where He's looking into the sun, and obviously we don't have to tell you what an advantage that would be.
You don't think of boxing as a sport in which weather and conditions can play a major factor, but here over 100 degrees with a glaring sun. And now that's exactly what Ramos has done. That position that he's tried to get into a couple times here on the near ropes is the position where Vargas would potentially be in harm's way, blinded by the sun.
It's a pretty simple formula. You want to keep your back to the sun, get a little tan on your back, kind of like laying in the lounge chair on your stomach. You know, get a little sun on your back, and you can see in the monitor right there on television that if the sun is on the back of the fighter.
There's the angle, Teddy. That's the reverse angle. So if you're fighting, that's what you would have to deal with, looking into the sun tonight here in Lemoore, California. And that's what Teddy says the old-timers used to do, and it was the advice handed out to Rico Ramos. Take that shot once again, guys, and just show how blinding that could be for a fighter. Can you imagine a punch coming at you and you're staring right into that?
Almost impossible to navigate away from a punch with that kind of glare in your eyes.
As if they don't have enough to deal with.
And again, it would work into, you would think, the kind of makeup that Ramos likes to believe is his makeup. To be intelligent, to be crafty, to be the guy who maneuvers in the ring. Why not maneuver your fighter into the sun? He's a thoughtful fighter. I said that at the very beginning, a thinking fighter. And you can see once again Ramos putting his back to the sun. And that moment I could actually see Vargas squinting a little bit as the sun did peek into his eyes. More of the same, Vargas wanting to come forward, and the advice from the corner should be, if you're going to press forward, do it behind your jab. Take away some of that counterpunching that's been coming at you from Ramos.
So Vargas and the unbeaten Ramos. 3 rounds to go from here in Lemoore on Friday Night Fights. Stay with us.
Okay.
Well, we're looking at the 122-pound division here in the unbeaten prospect Rico Ramos, but there is not a single American, according to Ring Magazine, in the top 10. ESPN.com's rankings have the ring number 2, Nishioka, as the number 1 junior featherweight in the world. It's a division that does not have a lot of top-tier, big-name talent, kind of talent that you can cash in with just north of the division at 126 pounds with Juan Manuel Lopez, Yoriorkis Gamboa, and some others. But Rico Ramos is hoping that he can build his resume up. He's now 16-0 and get himself into the rankings.
We talked earlier about Ramos wanting to use that dominant left hand. He's a natural lefty. To go to the body of Vargas. Vargas would be the one really served to go downstairs. Take some of those legs away that Ramos is using for defense.
And trying to put that left hook in there, and Ramos comes back with a 3-punch combination. Let's look at Teddy's scorecard. Through 5 rounds here. Clean sweep for the unbeaten from LA.
Ramos continues to shine, continues to keep that record unblemished. Obviously his future a bright one. No pun intended out here in the sun, but also his advisor, Al Heyman, has very good connections.
That's an understatement.
With HBO, so you would think that Ramos might be destined to that network if he continues working or winning while working.
Many critics in the current state of the sport would say that that's the only way to find your way into title contention.
Doesn't hurt if you're also promoted by Golden Boy. That seems to work well for fighters. Getting on HBO.
The path is laid out with the good, strong connections of the elite management in the sport right now in Al Heyman. Now he's just got to build things up.
Yeah, you have to continue winning, continue improving, but at some point, it is an entertainment business. You have to be exciting. Not the most exciting match here tonight. An intelligent match from Ramos, staying outside, keeping Vargas' eyes in the sun a little bit, keeping a little distance where he can use his quicker hands, where he can do some counter-punching, allow Vargas to make mistakes. But again, not the kind of style that tells you on Friday or Saturday night, I must be in front of that television set.
No, I think our main event's going to offer more of that style. WBA light heavyweight world championship on the line between Uzulkov and Shumenov. Two unknowns to most mainstream fans, but two guys that I think you're really going to enjoy coming up in just a little bit. There is Beibut Shumenov. He made history becoming the light heavyweight champion with the fewest career fights. He is 9-1, and he's the WBA light heavyweight champion. Has a very exciting style, and he's going up against the 22-0 Vyacheslav Uzulkov in our title fight main event. 2 rounds to go here between Rico Ramos, 16-0, against Cuauhtemoc Vargas.
You say Uzulkov, I say Shumenov.
Well,
and I say it's going to be a good fight.
It's going to be a good one. 12 rounds for the 175-pound title in the WBA. A Ukrainian against a fighter from Kazakhstan who fights out of Vegas. Shumenov won the belt in such controversial fashion. He's the one that, even though he comes in with the belt, he's the one that really has to prove himself, really has to gain respect. Let's look at some CompuBox statistics compiled here so far. 302 punches thrown by the unbeaten Ramos, landing 68 to Vargas' 47.
Once again, you see Vargas, he wants to get inside. 2 problems. He gets inside, he doesn't work, and Ramos doesn't allow him to work. Ramos wants separation. We said it earlier, Joe. You get separation when you're the faster guy, and Ramos has the quicker hands. You want a little bit of range between you and your opponent to use those quicker hands, but there's more to it than that with Ramos. He wants a little range to not only use his quicker hands, but his quicker feet. And that's what he's doing to set up his offense. Using those quick twinkle toes to get to the side a little bit, and then use those quick fans.
A wide right hand landed by Ramos. Now on the inside, a right uppercut from Vargas.
Again, the feet of Ramos working a little overtime here, trying to set up the hands for Ramos.
Stop.
How do you think both guys are dealing with the heat here, Teddy?
The one that I would think the more stress would be on would be Ramos, because he has to do more work, and I think that's going to happen in the main event. I think that Shumenov, because of his style, very unorthodox, moving all the time, while Uzulkov is a little bit more standard. I'd be more worried about Shumenov being really well hydrated tonight, and the same thing with Ramos. He's got to work a little more using those legs, move around a little bit, but Vargas hasn't really stepped up that heat to the point that Ramos is really feeling any worse for the weather.
Now they will have 1 round to go here from the Tachi Palace in Lemoore. Friday Night Fights moves forward. Stay with us. Sun-baked Lemoore, California. A day that's been in excess of 100 degrees. Sun's starting to set now.
You know,
hope
Joe,
it cools off before that main event.
You know, Joe, we heard, and I know you heard it, in the corner of Ramos, a little bit of BS, but this was good BS.
Be sensible was what I heard.
Exactly. So a little BS in the corner of Ramos, and a little positive reflection on those letters instead of the negative. be sensible. In other words, you're ahead in the fight. It's yours. Bring it home. Don't do anything that would not be sensible, like slug it out.
They said take no chances. 8th and final round against an opponent that you can handle. 16-0, coasting in towards 17-0. Be sensible was the call.
We might have a new use for those letters. BS. Be smart. Be sensible. In this case for Ramos, that means stay on the outside. Use your legs.
Well, he just dipped
don't
down.
do that. Don't
Got in
do
the
that.
way of a right hand. Got in the way of a right hand moments ago.
You know, we talked about it in the first and second round that Ramos had the habit every once in a while of jumping in, but Vargas did not time him. That time was a good opportunity where Vargas just about timed him with the right hand.
Stop.
Kept his head, jumped in and kept his head right in that position.
See, that's one place where you can catch up to the faster guy. Ramos, by far the quicker guy. I mean, he's a Porsche in there with a Volkswagen, but when you use timing, speed becomes secondary, and when you start reaching in and falling in like Ramos has a couple times here, and he does once again, then Vargas has an opportunity to do some timing. I always say, Joe, that's the problem with these kids with a lot of pure God-given ability. They speed all over the place. It's kind of like giving a young kid a race car. Sometimes they go through red lights, and Ramos went through a couple red lights in this last round, falling in and getting caught a little bit. But so far, he hasn't really gotten a big ticket. Best round for Vargas, but a little too late.
And he will likely hear that from the judges when we return here to Lemoore, California, and wrap up our first fight on Friday Night Fights. Real good main event still to come. Stay with us. Welcome back. We'll wrap things up here between Vargas and Ramos. Let's look at Teddy's scorecard. There is the unbeaten. Last round, you said too little too late for Vargas, 79-73. Let's send it up to the ring. To ring announcer Peter Weiss.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 8 rounds of furious action, we go to the scorecard. Judge Abe Bellardo scores the bout 80-72. Judge Steve Morrow scores the bout 79-73. And Judge Marshall Walker scores the bout 80-72 for the winner by unanimous decision.
Put my mic.
Suavecito Ramos.
Rico Ramos, 23 years old, moves his mark now to 17-0. A real good main event set to come your way. The WBA light heavyweight title will be on the line. Bebo Shumanov looking to defend against a very confident and determined Vyacheslav Uzulkov. Let's send it back to the Friday Night Fight studio.
Brian Kenny here. Tecate